Okay, so thank you for your time again. And I just want to maybe ask you if you have a particular moment or kind of like a story, memory that really stands out from your time at the Institute.
Actually, it I do, but it wasn't when I was a student. Um, the institute invited me after I had graduated and I think secured my second job. They invited me to come give a job talk, and um, and I gave a job talk related to my research on unauthorized migration, and yeah, the talk went well, but it is Berkeley, so some people give me a hard time, which is fine, you know. Uh, that's the good thing about that school. It's always very a lot of critical minds and so forth. So
Mm.
I gave this job talk, and afterwards, I went to go and have dinner with Minkus and a couple of the other staff, and it was just like a special moment, to come back and I guess demonstrate the kind of skills that I was able to acquire while I was a student in the institute.
Maybe going back to your time as a graduate student at the Institute, what difference do you think the Institute make in terms of your time as a graduate student here at Berkeley?
Yeah, so I did 1 year instead of the 2 years, which in a way I think that 1 year was very useful because it it's when you talk about research design. It's also when you get a lot of faculty guests to talk about their careers. Um, this is how I'll put it. So I was in city planning, and in city planning at that time, that program was one of the top programs in the country, and they taught you um, about city planning, and um, you learned like how to do research basically. So you learn your subject area and you learn how to do research. But many of the professors there were famous at that time, and so they didn't have time to really mentor you in terms of understanding the culture of academia or even understanding like how to go about writing an article or publishing an article. Like we didn't get that. So I got that at the Institute. And the Institute, they were the ones that helped me understand more of the culture of academia and more of the how to maneuver the institutions, um, you know, understand how to publish a book, how to publish an article, those kinds of skills, which are extremely important, you know. Um, so yeah.
Mm, thank you. Yeah, I agree. And I feel like I'm still getting a lot of those mentorship through the Institute that I don't necessarily get to the department.
Mhm.
Could you maybe share a little bit more about your current work and maybe the ways in which it's been influenced by your time at the Institute?
Yeah, so I'm currently at the University of Oregon, and I do a lot of place-based research since I'm an urban planner. So I usually do research uh, where where I live, and I currently have a research project where I'm focused on Latino forest workers and so labor within the forest industry. So when you think about Oregon, you think about this beautiful green environmental kind of state, which it is, but you don't think about the workers that actually, uh, maintain that. Um, Most of Oregon's forest is actually industrial forest, and
Mm.
and most of the workers that have to do the replanting, they have to do the reforestation, they have to do the wildfire uh, fuels removal. Very labor intensive jobs are actually uh, Latino workers. and they've actually been trans that labor force has been transforming from being mostly an unauthorized labor force to now being a guest worker labor force. And so I'm currently studying that transition. Uh, so that's one of my projects. The other project that I have is actually in the Galapagos Islands. And I'm studying, I'm trying to make this argument that actually Darwin influenced urban planning. Okay. And I've been tracing the intellectual kind of thread all the way from Darwin to today's environmental urban planning movement. And so, but I also I don't just do theory. So I am also involved in a lot of kind of community action, community participatory research in the Galapagos so that we can use the Galapagos Island as kind of a case study to understand how humans and different species can actually co-evolve and coexist in a more sustainable manner. So it's kind of very two different projects, but in a way, that's what Berkeley did for me. It gave me the breadth and depth to be able to handle doing research that's just so different.
Mhm. Yeah, I am really interested by both projects, and especially I don't think I've ever read anything that connects Darwin's or these kinds of, I guess, like Enlightenment period thoughts into like modern planning. So that'd be really cool kind of piece to look out for.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'll let you know when I
Yeah,
publish.
I am really curious. Um, would there be any piece of advice you would like to share with current or future graduate students at the Institute?
Yes, I would say really pay attention to the process that they teach you in regards to understanding how to maneuver academic institutions. Okay, that I think that's the key thing because what they do is, they bring in guest speakers, they teach you, about the job market. They teach you basically the how-to processes that you're not going to get in your department. And those processes are, I would say, as important as getting your intellectual, grounding in your field and understanding how to do research. And so my biggest advice to current students would be, really pay attention to understanding how academia works,
Mm,
because academia has a very specific culture to it that no one tells you about, you know? And I think what the Institute does, it demystifies that. It kind of brings that invisible structure, into visibility. And many students that are part of the Institute, are students that don't come from privilege, and we have no idea, that invisible academic culture exists. And so it's, trying to break into that invisible academic culture while not having the social capital is very difficult.